Still crying the same tears. From Emmett to Nolan, how many more years? Copper blood in these waters, Most High see us here. Peace be still, but the truth gonna appear. Emmett Till, young boy whistling in the store. White lies turned to lynch and dragged him from the door. Beaten, shot river, swallowed him whole. Open casket, mama showed the world his soul. Nolan Wills, 18, boat ride on the 4th. Only black in the circle, now they say he drowned for. Horn Island whispers, friends came back without him. Mississippi history, still hunting, still doubting. Same state, same pain, different name. Black boy lost in the Delta rain. When will it change? Lord, when will it change? Ancestors screaming, we never left this stage. 1955, Chicago boy down south for the summer breeze. Money, Mississippi, wrong place for a black team to breathe. Brian Stowe, maybe a whistle, maybe just a smile. Jim Crow cold broken, now they coming in the night. Wow, Roy and Malone snatched him from his uncle's floor. Tortured that baby, fanti round, body in the Tallahatchie roar. Mutilated face, mama said let the world see. Acquitted by all white jury, not guilty, set him free. Sparked the movement, Montgomery rose from the flames. But the Delta dirt still holding black boys' names. Emmett was 14, just a child in his prime, lynched for existing in a twisted mind. Emmett Till, Nolan Wells, Delta shadows ringing bells. Black life cheap in these haunted lands. Most High coming with justice in his hands. 2026 July 4th, independence gone wrong. Broke the Horn Island with the crew, singing freedom songs. 18 years young, big heart, only copper in the mix. Friends white as the judge that let killers walking. 55 disappeared that day, body found on the shore 2 nights later. They say drowning, no foul play, but the family know better. Questions swimming deeper than the Gulf waters cold. Why leave your phone? Why the silence from the foe? Mississippi again, history echoing loud. Ben Crump calling for truth, independent, autopsy proud. Was it accident or the past rising from the mud? Black boy with white friends, trust issues in our blood.
Why the same soil claim my sons? Ancestor never left, we still the chosen one.
From Till's open casket to Nolan's unanswered call. In time signs, Leviathan rising, watch the fall. No hate, just black love, we hold each other tight. But stop crashing out on each other and demand what's right.
Peace be still,
Through the storm we prevail,
Father's child,
we shall not fail. Both in Mississippi, Delta's cruel embrace. One lynched open, one body lost without a trace. Emmett's killers brag after the verdict came. Nolan's story fogged in speculation and shame. 14 or 18, young kings taken too soon. Waters claim the bodies, but the spirit touched the moon. Same fear, same doubt, same racist undercurrent flow. But we wiser now, cameras, voices won't let go. Indigenous copper, mountain builder, stand tall. We walk together, ancestors answer the call. No more silent nights, no more cover graves. Justice for Emmett, justice for Nolan. Raise the blade.
Emmett Till, Nolan Wells,
Tell now,
Emmett Till,
but our spirit never fell. We got black love, revolution now. Most High know my heart, make it right somehow.
peace be still.
Peace be still. From Till to West, the story's still real. Let the world see, let the truth be free. Let the world see, let the world see. Let the truth be free.
All right. Hello, everyone. Grand Rising. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your morning wake up call. So, as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Now, with that all being said, let's see who's in here with y'all shady selves. Deacon Jungle Cat Pose. All right, that's an interesting name. Mr. Elevation, Ivy. Okay, Youngest Turnip is here. Jay Ann is here. All right, said the Queen of Truth. Thank you, beloved. Chris B is here. Let's get into it. 504 Nola. Betty Boop is in the virtual building. Dark Tube. All right, likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Remember, it doesn't cost you a single thing. Okay, Cherie is here. Bronze Flat Power God is here. We the people. All right, let's get into it, Mr. Elevation. Chase Gibson is here. Ivo Ovi is here. All right. Reggie, what are you doing up this early, honey? All right, let's get it popping. So shout out to all of my loyal royals and everyone tuned into the Queen. I see you, CJ the Cat. I think CJ the Cat was the first one in here. Okay, Black Butterfly. All right, let's get it popping. Okay, now with that all been said, everyone hit that like button, like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to double check and make sure that you're still subscribed, especially if you have not been receiving your notifications. Okay, William Johns is here. All right, let's get into it. Pretty Wings. Okay, so here we go. Before we get started, let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
All right, so don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. Okay, you can also find her products at Walmart.com. And don't forget that she also sells beard oil. Okay, so let's get into it. Now, what I find interesting, let me just tell you all something. What I find so interesting is that, first of all, let me just say, now they have reports coming out, and I find it very interesting, as I was saying, they have reports coming out about the data on the drownings and the drowning risk at Horn Island. Do you all know why I find that so interesting? Uh, I'm so glad you asked, because we already covered that weeks ago. I want y'all to pay attention to how we're so ahead of the curve on this channel. Okay, please pay attention. Now, if you remember me talking about the data of the people of the number of drownings on Horn Island within the last decade. Okay, put a 1 in the chat if you remember that. Okay, put a 1 in the chat if you remember that. Now, the reason I did that research, and I think I did it while we were actually on the live, but the reason I did that is because I wanted to show that it's not something that happens often for all these maggots who are up here trying to act like, oh, nothing to see here, folks. People drown all the time on Horn Island. No, they don't. Okay, yeah, they literally don't. All right, that's what they don't do. So, anywho, that's why I did the research, but now it looks like some of these big publications have done the same thing because now they're reporting on it. All right, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. What the data shows about drowning risk at the island where Nolan Wells partied before his mysterious death. The 18-year-old apparently went missing off the coast of Mississippi during a raucous 4th of July party. Now, Nolan Wells' mysterious death is potentially even more unusual. If he drowned on Horn Island off the coast of Mississippi, that would mark the first such death there in years, according to government data. Now, the drowning dangers around the Barrier Island, a popular gathering spot where the water can deepen rapidly and churn with rip currents like a washing machine. Hold on, didn't I also tell you all this? Okay, didn't I also tell you all this? I absolutely love it. Are they watching the Queen, honey, and gathering receipts? Please pay attention. But let me continue. So anyway, Goes on to say the drowning dangers around the barrier island, a popular gathering spot where the water can deepen rapidly and churn with rip currents like a washing machine, have attracted significant attention since Wells's body was found there on July the 6th, still wearing his swim trunks. Now, speaking with conservative commentator Brandon Low Down Dirty Nefarious Rage Batum Tap Dancing Tatum, Wells's friend Warren Hudson, they mean frenemy, mind you, who was with him on Horn Island, called the Gulf Coast a fun but very dangerous place to be, saying that stuff happens. People die all the time. I know people that have died, he said. He doesn't know any damn body that died in Horn Island, okay, including Nolan, because Nolan didn't die on Horn Island, okay, in my opinion. Probably on that boat or somewhere else, but likely on the boat. Just my opinion. Now, and I want you all to think back to the moment in time that I just showed you all again last week, in fact, where Warren went to Horn Island with Rage Batum, Tap Dancing Tatum, and as they stood there looking out at the waters, what did he say? Yeah, you can see the drop off right there. Okay, it goes straight from 17 feet to 31 feet. Okay, and then he went to talking about how the water's all dangerous and all this and that. Now, I told you all then that the reason Warren was saying those things is because he was trying to make it so plausible to us, for us to just think that, yeah, it's so plausible that he drowned. It's obvious. I know people that have died. Okay, people have drowned. They drown all the time. That's what he wanted us to think, but in fact, they don't. And I told y'all he was lying. And I also thought it was very interesting that that's what he chose to discuss when Tatum asked him if he had anything else that he wanted people to know. I would have thought he'd want people to know how much he loved and cared for Nolan, who he claimed was like his brother. But instead, he wanted to portray it as if Nolan just simply drowned off on his own. Anyway, goes on to say that separately, a boat operator told NBC News last month, says, I know people that have grown up out there that have died out there around the island. It'll humble you very quick. I don't care what kind of shape you're in. Those currents can get you. And before you even realize you're in trouble, you're gone. That's what he said, honey. They were trying to paint a whole narrative. The 18-year-old Wells had attended a large raucous 4th of July party with friends who say they left him behind with a girl and account his family has challenged as being out of character for him. Authorities initially said they suspected that Wells drowned and did not see signs of foul play. Now, a position they have since seemingly softened amid their ongoing work and sharp criticism from the teen's parents. Nolan Wells' family deserves a thorough and factual investigation, and that's exactly what they're going to get. This is what the Jackson County Sheriff, low down dirty, led better, who should do better, if you ask the Queen, that's what he had to say. Despite the currents in deep water around Horn Island echoed in the concerns of some locals, data obtained by people indicates that recent drownings there are rare. The Jackson County coroner said there have been no recorded drowning deaths at Horn Island in the last 6 years. And that's exactly what I told you all, because remember, I did my research based on the last decade. Okay? Now, and this is what officials said in response to an open records request. That doesn't mean that drownings don't happen in the area. There was a drowning death investigation at nearby Petit Bois Island in the same time period, according to officials. And a teenage girl was taken in critical condition to the hospital from Dauphin Island, okay, not far from Horn Island in 2022 after being stuck in the water. I also reported that to you all as well when we were doing our research. Now, Wells's parents, Christine and Elmore Wansley, and their attorney, Ben Crump, have questioned what really happened to him on July the 4th before he apparently vanished in plain sight and later turned up dead. More than a month later, hold on, beloveds, my alarm's going off. I'm supposed to be still sleeping. Anywho, so anyway, goes on to say, more than a month later, much remains unclear about Wells's final hours. A few other attendees at the party that day have described a big bustling event they had drinking, socializing, and occasional altercations. Y'all hear that? Not occasional altercations. Yeah, y'all had brawls. It was all ghetto. Okay. Now, both an official and independent investigation are ongoing, and the Jackson County District Attorney has said the findings will be presented to a grand jury. An independent autopsy on behalf of Wells's family could not determine his cause of death or rule out foul play. Now, while the investigation faced some key limitations, it did not find any severe injuries on his body. The results of the official autopsy have not been released. Wells would have turned 19 years old this week. Isn't it so sad? Rest in peace to Nolan. This is a whole lot, folks. It really is. Not just Nolan's death, but all of these other people who look like him that have died by a so-called accidental drownings and been found as strange fruit. I feel like there's a war or an attack on Black folk. Please pay attention. Now, new details emerge about Nolan Wells' drowning site, raising more questions about teen's death. Now, this is a whole nother publication. So, according to a report published on Thursday, August the 20th, data obtained through an open records request showed that Jackson County coroner had no recorded drowning deaths at Horn Island in the past 6 years. As the Globe previously reported, Wells traveled with friends. Okay, we're going to skip past all of that. Do I even need to read this? Hold on, let me see if it's the same exact thing. Friends of Wells who were with him that weekend have maintained that he decided to stay back with an unknown girl. Well, we know who the girl was, Katie, but he didn't stay back with her, according to her. Now, however, Wells's parents, Christine and Elmore Wansley, have repeatedly pushed back on those claims and said their son would not have separated from his friend groups. Okay, he would not have separated from his group of friends. Christine and Elmore commissioned an independent investigation into Wells's death and are being represented by civil rights attorney Ben Crump. Now, the family also commissioned an independent autopsy of Wells's body conducted by well-known forensic pathologist Dr. Roger Mitchell. Now, last month, Crump released the results of the autopsy, and Wells's cause of death was undetermined pending investigation. Now, the official autopsy has also been completed, but the results have not been released at this time, at least not to the public. So, with that all being said, listen, it is no shock to me. It is no shock to me that people don't usually drown out there in Horn Island. And here's probably the why of it all. Because we do know that they have that area with the rip currents and with the washing machine effect. And I told you all that it's like a dam. When you get pulled into those type of waters, it's like the equivalent of being sucked into a dam, because they refer to dams as having a washing machine effect as well. And I literally saw a show one time where they did like a reenactment. There was a couple that went out to walk their dog. And it was so sad. It really was. It was a young lady and her boyfriend, and they went out to walk their dog, and they were walking by a dam, and the dog fell into the dam some sort of way. And so the young lady and her boyfriend were both trying to get the dog out when she slipped into the dam. She and he were trying to get the dog out, and she fell in. So now the boyfriend's trying to get her out. He doesn't have a rope or anything. So he takes off his pants, his jeans, and he throws one leg to her, and he's holding the other leg, and he's trying to get her, trying to pull her in, but he falls in. Do you know that both of them, along with their dog, died? When I tell you, it was so sad. I hated to see that, but that's what happened, because it had that washing machine effect. You cannot swim, no matter how good of a swimmer you are. You just cannot swim under those conditions. Okay, like you're just being whipped and tossed. It's just so crazy. The power and strength of the currents and the water is just unbearable. Now, with that all being said, in other news, what I also find interesting is the fact that Nolan's mother, Christine Wansley, do y'all know she has filed for new subpoenas, honey? This lady is not, I repeat, she is not playing games. She's a woman of my own heart. Okay, I absolutely love this lady. Shout out to her for her courage and strength and relentlessness. Okay, and her tenacity, honey. She's going after them with everything that she has in her, with every breath that she takes. Okay, this is why they're so mad. This is why they have been trying to disparage her. This is why they tried to come for her job, her career. This is why they told lies and tried to get her to lose her nursing license and all of that, because they know this woman is is not giving up. She's not letting down. She's coming for their asses, and they're going to get their karma. Arrest will be made soon. I want you all to pay attention, honey. They can run, but what they can't do is hide. They got nowhere to go. Judge Ashley Cole, I'm talking to you. Where are you? Honey, let's see if those elite prominent people, the tree herns, can help you now. I want to see how this is all going down, okay? Please pay attention. Okay, please pay attention. This woman is like Emmett Till's mother. I don't care what anyone says. Not only does she look like her, but she has that woman's same spirit as far as I'm concerned, okay? She has the same spirit. Now let's get into it, because she's not playing games. And I know they're all sitting at home right about now. As soon as they heard this news that came out hours ago, but I was saving it to report on for this morning. But anywho, let me just tell y'all something. I can guarantee you they're sitting at home probably so scared. I wonder if they're sitting in the dark watching a movie right about now like they did the day that Nolan died. But they were supposed to be so concerned. Please make it all make sense. Okay, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, because I'm here for every bit of it. I certainly am. Then we got to talk about this voodoo priestess, what she has to say about her channeling sessions and all that. Brandon Tatum's out here still telling lies. That's never going to stop, I'm pretty sure. Okay, here we go. So Nolan Wells' mom subpoena Cito over July 4th calls. Now, Nolan Wells' mom, Christine Wansley, is still digging for answers. And now she's going straight after the Marine Towing Company, okay, his friends called on the day he disappeared. TMZ obtained 2 new subpoenas filed Thursday on behalf of Nolan's estate, one for Cito Services International and another for Ward Marine Services, which operates at Cito South, Mississippi. Okay, please pay attention. Now, for Cito, she wants basically everything, okay? Everything and anything connected to the July 4th incident from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. And that includes, but not limited to, calls, recordings, dispatch records, and documents showing who handled the response. She's also asking for Cito's training materials. Okay, now you know she's serious, honey. She even wants their training manuals and written procedures for handling reports of boats taking on water or sinking. Now, the Ward Marine subpoena goes even deeper. Christine wants all calls tied to the incident, and that's including dispatch calls and communications between the captain, local crew, and people connected to the boat. Now, I wonder if Jerry Atkerson is shaking in his boots, because I'm pretty sure, okay, now mind you, this is my opinion, but I'm pretty sure that he called the captain on his own personal cell phone, okay? Yeah, let me just put up my disclaimer, because I'm about to get into some speculation after this. So pay attention. Views, opinions, allegations, and accusations expressed by guests, third parties, or commenters are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show or any of my affiliate channels or social media accounts. Content is presented for commentary, discussion, reporting, and educational purposes. Discussion of an allegation does not mean the allegation is true or endorsed by this channel. All persons are presumed innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. Now keep that in mind. So, yeah, she wants all of the records, okay? She wants all communications about the incident, records showing whether any of them changed or ended Cito's response. Honey, it's about to go down. And let me tell y'all something. For the maggots who are out here saying that the enhanced audio that includes their attorney. Okay, because their attorneys are also J. Tyler Cox trying to act like that the audio is fake, that it's AI and all of that, or just, that it's just made up. Well, we're going to see about all that, honey, because these subpoenas are going to let us know about all that, what's really real and what's really not. Please pay attention, okay? Nolan disappeared July the 4th near Horn Island, Mississippi. His body was found 2 days later, not far from where he was last seen, and his official cause and manner of death have yet to be released. Now, with that all being said, like I told you all, they can run, but they can't hide. Okay, that's what they can't do. And this is all some serious information here, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. Hold on just a second. Hold on, beloveds. I'm looking for another receipt I had. Honey, y'all know I stay losing receipts. I put them in the wrong place. Anyway, we'll get back to that momentarily. But let me just tell you all why this is so important, what she is doing, okay? Let me just tell you all why this is so important. Now, first of all, and this is all behind, I want you all to pay attention because this, in my opinion, has a whole lot to do with Janetta Bradley. And shout out to her again for enhancing the audio so that we can hear the background. Okay, because she was the first one to do that in a professional manner. Now, I absolutely believe that is what caught their attention. And let's not forget about the timeline, because this is really going to be pivotal to the timeline. We're going to get into that, but I want you all to pay attention because Rupert, when he was on here the other day, now you all heard Rupert say that in fact, the conversation that we had on here when we were talking about the timeline and what Javon said and how things just weren't adding up, and with the CETO call and them supposedly saying they were making the call on that boat and all of that. Now, if you remember, Rupert said to me, because I didn't even know this, but he said that when Ben Crump was on Art of the Dialogue, like the next day or a couple of days after, whenever, he brought up something that I said on the live. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention. I want y'all to pay attention. So just remember, we're putting out good information here because we're really doing thorough research. Okay. Now, so let's talk about why this is all so imperative. Because based on all of the information, okay, the subpoena is going to be very, very important because it's aimed at something more valuable than people's later, just their recollections. Okay, you see, contemporaneous records created while the incident was unfolding is what she's going after. Now, one especially important point is that CETO's own public guidance says callers seeking on-water assistance are normally asked for details such as their GPS location, boat information, the nature of the problem, the number of people aboard, whether the vessel is taken on water, and other circumstances. Now, CETO also tells boaters that in the event of an emergency or life-threatening situation, they should contact the Coast Guard first. Okay, please pay attention. And a publicly posted transcript purporting to be the July 4th CETO call in this case contains statements that the bilge pump had stopped working and that the boat was in fact sinking, followed by questions about the water level, the condition of the people on board, and whether they needed the Coast Guard, which they declined, mind you. So, with that all being said, that transcript, I would just treat that as an unofficial source, okay, unless authenticated records from CETO confirm it. And that's what she's looking for, okay? She's looking for authenticated records that are going to confirm these things. So here's the thing. Why the CETO records could be so important? Well, the subpoena isn't just about finding out whether someone called CETO, but it's about reconstructing, okay? They're about to reconstruct this whole scenario, honey. That's what they're about to do. Have you all ever seen a show or a movie, 48 Hours, or any of the crime shows where they reconstruct a crime scene? Yeah, so they can try to figure out what happened. You see, we did this when I was in college for criminal justice. We had to do that to learn how to go through a crime scene. So this is going to be very pivotal because that's what they're going to be doing here. They're going to be reconstructing what happened in real time, which is going to give them the ability to create an independent timeline where they don't have to go by what the boys are saying in their accounts of what happened, their recollections. Okay, they're going to have all of this information themselves. Okay, now here's the thing. Because, think about the difference between an interview conducted days, weeks, or months after an incident and a telephone call made while the incident is supposedly happening. And then later, people have time to think. They have time to talk to other people. Memories can change. Details can become confused. Stories can evolve. And sometimes people can just flat out lie, like Warren has been doing. But when somebody picks up the phone and says, we need help right now, that conversation can become a snapshot of what they believed or represented what was happening at that exact moment. And that is why these CETO records, this is why they matter. Okay, please pay attention. CETO records matter. All right, likes up. Everyone, please hit the like button. Thank you in advance. You see, Mrs. Christine Wansley apparently isn't asking for only one record or one recording. Based on the subpoena, She's seeking the entire chain of communications surrounding that request for assistance, and that would include incoming calls, recordings, dispatch communications, communications with the local captain or crew, communications involving people connected to the boat, and records concerning the decision to change, cancel, or terminate Cito's response. Now, that could potentially create a minute-by-minute timeline independent of the frenemies' later accounts. Okay, this is going to give everything like what they initially told Cito, some of the biggest questions. What was there really an emergency when they called? Did they really say the boat was disabled? We already know what they said because we heard it. But at the end of the day, I'm just saying, had she not certain things that you would know, you're going to find out. Certain things we don't know, all of that's going to be given to her. Okay. And the main thing that I'm sure she wants to know is why in the hell was the tow canceled? See, that may be the most important part of the subpoena. Calling for assistance makes sense if you believe your boat is in serious trouble. But if that assistance is later canceled, well, I'm sure his mother understandably wants to know why it was canceled. Okay, what reason was given? And did the caller say the problem had been fixed? Did somebody else say Cito or tell Cito that the assistance was no longer necessary? And who was that? Well, we know that it was Jerry Ackerson, and she knows that too. So Jerry Ackerson, you better get ready and get you a lawyer, honey, because you're going to need one. At the end of the day, he's going to be a part of a wrongful lawsuit. Okay, a wrongful death lawsuit. I can smell it in the air. I can see it coming. And so is Judge Ashley Cole. Please pay attention. And that would include Dr. Benjamin Hudson as well. All of these people are going down one way or another, whether they're going down in a criminal court or they're going down in civil court. They're going down. Now, the people who committed the crime, they're going to jail. They're going to be indicted. Okay, it's coming soon. All right, to a theater near you. The rest of them, the conspirators and co-conspirators and all of that, the ones who tried to get together and get the cover up going and all of that, yeah, they're absolutely going down, and they're going to be hit hard in those pockets. And I know they hate it. And see, let me tell you all something. That's why they've been sitting up here trying to do all this GoFundMe, okay, this Give, Send, Go that they've been trying to raise and all of that, honey. That's what they've been up to. They've been trying to raise all this money because they already know what's coming down the pike. They know they're going to have to dish out millions, and they don't want to give it out of their bank accounts, so they're out here begging for money, okay, so they can try to pay off what's coming. But it's a whole lot coming, and it's called karma. Okay, that's what's coming. Please pay attention. I love to see it, and I love to hear it. Okay, I absolutely do. I absolutely do. Now, another thing is, did somebody else tell Cito that assistance was no longer necessary? Somebody other than Jerry Advocason? Was the Cito captain already underway? How far had the response progressed? Did the captain communicate directly with anyone aboard? And perhaps most importantly, what changed between we need help and now, oh, sorry, we don't need help anymore? That's what we all want to know, because I'm going to tell you something that really has gotten them in this pickle. See, here's the thing, how karma works, and I so love it, because we always get what we put out, right? And Brandon tap dancing rage Tatum thought he was being so slick and sly doing business with these people, having them to endorse his liquor brand or put it in the backgrounds of videos so he can grift and make his money off of Nolan's demise, while at the same time dragging his parents for filth, implying that in fact they are the race hustlers, when that's exactly what he is, trying to call out Ben Crump. Okay, but what's so interesting about all that he has done, you know what he's really done inadvertently this week? I wonder how he's feeling about it right now. Is he crying somewhere? Because he should be. Because after all he was trying to do, it all backfired on him and them. You see, he's part of the reason that she has subpoenaed this stuff. How much do you want to bet? Let's talk about it. Let's not forget that video that he put out there claiming that, oh, Wyatt was on the phone with Cito right then and there. They were waiting for the tow. Only for us to see that, yeah, that's all BS. Why are people standing on the ledge of the boat if the boat's been towed by Bart? And if the boat's been towed by Bart, why the hell did y'all call Cito if you were already being towed? And then only to cancel the tow. See right there? And then he couldn't, and neither could the lawyers. They could not give an accurate, honest timeline, or they couldn't give the specific timestamp of that video. You know why they couldn't do that? Because they were likely lying, okay? Okay, they were likely lying. at the end of the day. And we all saw what we saw on the floor. Y'all don't think that Christine and Ben Crump and all of them saw that too? Of course they did. So Tatum, thanks for a job well done, you stupid raccoon. But let's continue. Okay, he's helping the wrong side. And I am so here for it. I mean, if you could just see the glee that I'm feeling right now. But anywho, with that all being said, the transition could help establish what was happening during a critical portion of the timeline. You see, if we find out exactly, or she finds out exactly what changed, why all of a sudden y'all didn't need any help. Was it just an alibi, or did something else happen? Now, mind you, she's coming for everything, including the training materials. All right, and why does that matter? Well, I'm so glad you asked. You see, the training materials matter because at first glance, requesting CETO's training materials might just seem, unusual. It actually could be very significant, however, because see, those training materials could establish what CETO personnel were trained or expected to do when somebody reports a vessel sinking or taking on water. Okay, for example, what questions should the dispatcher ask? What information do they need to obtain? And under what circumstances should the Coast Guard become involved? How is the seriousness of a call elevated, okay, or evaluated? How is a cancellation supposed to be handled, and what records are generated during this response or this correspondence? And that gives investigators something against which the actual response can then be compared, okay? Ooh, CETO, y'all don't want to be a part of the wrongful death lawsuit either, do you? But you just might. But let me continue. Instead of simply asking, what did this dispatcher do? They can then ask, what was the dispatcher trained to do? Okay, and see, that distinction matters. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention, honey. It's about to go down. Now, the records could also identify people that we haven't even heard from. Okay, the subpoena could potentially identify CETO personnel who had direct contemporaneous contact with people involved. A dispatcher might remember something that never appeared in an investigative report. Let's talk about it. Remember how Bart's information for his GPS data for the boat that he was on, how that never showed up in the final in this investigative report, but yet they claimed in the Coast Guard report that they retrieved the data from him? All of these things are going to come into play. Now, a captain may have received information that wasn't contained in the original call. And that likely happened as well because Jerry Ackerson, I think, as I've told you all before, called the captain on a personal phone because they're probably homeboys. Okay? Now, there could have been follow-up calls that we don't even know about. There could have been radio traffic. There could have been text messages sent. Okay, there could have been a myriad of communications between the National Dispatch Operation and the local CETO operation. There may have also been timestamps showing exactly when each communication occurred. And listen, let me just tell you this. You see, those people are potentially, guess what? Independent witnesses. Okay, please pay attention. They weren't Nolan's friends and they weren't members of Nolan's family. Their job was simply to respond to a request for assistance. All right, these people are going to be witnesses, honey. Please pay attention. Now, that independence can make their observations particularly useful. You see, this can help lock down the timeline. And this may ultimately be the greatest value of these records. Every call has a time, you see. Every dispatch can have a time. Every callback has a time. A captain being notified has a time. And a cancellation has a time. And communications made after the cancellation has what? Has a time. Now put those together with phone records, GPS information, Coast Guard records, law enforcement records, photographs, videos, witness statements, investigators. These can all begin building a timeline that doesn't depend upon any one single person's memory. Okay, think about that. Think about that. Now imagine laying everything side by side. And then you say like this, at this time, the boat was reportedly here. And at this time, CETO was called. And at this time, this problem was reported. At this time, a captain was contacted. And at this time, something changed. And at this time, assistance was canceled. Then ask whether the physical movements of the boats and the statements of the people involved actually fit that timeline. Honey, it's about to go down. But the most important question, well, like I told you, the most important question might be, what changed? because somebody's going to have some explaining to do. What changed? Why all of a sudden did y'all not need to talk? Why did Grandpa Jerry call and cancel it? Why was he talking to the captain while y'all were talking to the dispatcher? And who called him? Y'all called him first, and why? If the boat's sinking and going down for the count, and you got water up to the battery, almost reaching the transom, and it's all such a desperate situation, why would y'all have time to call Grandpa first? Okay, you can't say you called him to get his membership number because you told the lady you didn't know it. Okay, you told the lady you didn't know it. All right. And didn't he say something about the tags had been removed and all of that? So we know that's not what you called your grandfather for. So what did you call him for? Okay, yeah, Miss Christine Wansley and Elmore, they have questions. Now, with that all being said, you see the communication between those 2 points may tell you exactly what you need to know. Maybe there is a completely ordinary explanation, but I doubt it. Okay. Are they going to try to act like the mechanical problem was resolved? That the water was removed, that maybe another boat offered assistance? Oh yeah, Bart, that's right, you did, right? But why in the hell did y'all go to Fort Bayou twice? Did somebody switch boats or do something shady? Did y'all jump in the water saying you're trying to fix the plug because y'all didn't want to be seen on camera? That's absolutely what I think, and we're going to find out too pretty soon, because these subpoenas are going to bring home a whole lot of information that nobody had previously. And this is smart thinking, because I guarantee you Ben Crump and his attorneys, they all got together, his whole team, and they all got together, compiled a whole list of everything that they needed to know, and then figured out how they need to go about getting this information. See, I want y'all to pay attention, because at the end of the day, Ben Crump and his team, they're a whole lot smarter than law enforcement, okay, that they got down there in Mississippi. They're a whole lot smarter than Ledbetter, who needs to do better. I want y'all to pay attention. You see, these people, I'm going to tell you why they're not so smart. First of all, this is the messiest, okay, the messiest cover-up in the history of cover-ups that I've ever seen. And I mean that, okay? This is the messiest darn cover-up ever. Never before have I seen lawyers allow their foolish clients to get on TV, get on YouTube, on podcasts, running their mouths, knowing damn well you're telling lies. Now, you know you have to tell lies, but you know you're not going to get up there and tell the truth, allegedly. But you know you're going to get up there and tell lies? And you think you can do it with a straight face and people are going to believe you, but the lies don't even make sense. Okay, they're not adding up. There's too many cracks and too many holes and too many red flags, too many inconsistencies. Okay, and then Jack's bursting y'all out while he's sitting there talking about how far y'all were from the shoreline, and then Warren's trying to correct it and make it seem like it was something other than that. Y'all are sitting up there looking real crazy. Okay, but your lawyers allowed you to do this? What fools are they? I have several questions. But anyway, all I can say is this is not working out for them, like I said. And you can tell that these people down in Ocean Springs think they're so smart, because for decades, I'm sure, they have been able to just get away with whatever. Okay, they have been able to use the small town politics that I always talk about. Okay, the Southern fried justice system with the good old boys and all of that. They've been doing this for quite some time, and they're pretty good at it because they have all of the backings. They have this prestigious family, the Treherns, giving all these donations, but at the same time, in the background, telling them what to do as though they're the puppet masters. And so they have always been able to get away with things, I'm sure. Mississippi collectively has been able to get away with things for decades. Okay, and that's why they have gotten too comfortable. Let me tell you something. When people start doing something so much and they get so comfortable with it, they become complacent. And once you become complacent, now you start to get sloppy. You see, now you start doing things that you wouldn't normally do. Before, you were on your P's and Q's and making sure that you crossed all your T's and dotted all your I's. But once you get so comfortable because you've been doing it for so long, you just think you can keep getting away with stuff, and you don't think anyone's looking at you, and no one's going to shine a spotlight, and no one would dare speak against you or try to expose you because of the power and corruption that goes on. Mind you, this is all alleged, but at the end of the day, yeah, you start to get lax. You become complacent, and now you're not paying attention, and that's exactly what's happened here. This is why this whole shenanigan that they have going on, this supposed cover-up, is all messy as hell, and this is why everything's falling apart, and this is why also Nolan is speaking to us from the grave, and I want you all to pay attention. That's exactly what's going on here. Do you all realize that every time they try to hide something, the truth comes out? Do you all realize that when they tell one lie, two truths come out right after? Do you all realize that when Brandon Tap Dance and Rage Tatum is trying to make it appear as though they're so sweet and innocent. They didn't do anything. They're telling the truth. Y'all are just making it about race. All that stuff that he said and everything that he's done, it has all just come crumbling down. Okay, it has all come crumbling down. Do y'all hear me? And at the end of the day, they've already done too much and said too much. It's already gone too far. The fire's now burning out of control. They don't know what they're going to do. I can guarantee you they're sitting at home, twiddling their thumbs and trying to figure out what in the hell are we going to do to get out of this. Now she's coming for Cito's records, even the training manuals. She wants to know everything about phone calls, dispatch, recordings, and everything, you name it. Not to mention the social media accounts. Not to mention the social media accounts that she already subpoenaed a while ago. So yeah, like I said, it's not looking good for any of them, honey. I know they hate it, but I love it for them. Okay? Because like I said, now this whole thing is about to provide independent witnesses and a locked and loaded timeline that cannot be disputed, and that we don't even need their words to prove it. It's already going to be verified in the information that's going to be handed over, and they don't have a choice in the matter. That's what they don't have. Okay? Oh, honey, because this isn't just about a tow. So when people hear Cito subpoena, they shouldn't think that it's just simply about whether a tow for the boats was called and canceled. This is potentially about creating an independent record of a crucial period in the Nolan Wells final timeline. Okay, please pay attention. So with that all being said, those records could allow Nolan's mother to compare what was being said while the incident was happening with what was said after Nolan was gone. And that's where these records can become extremely important. You see, because ultimately the purpose of obtaining them shouldn't be to prove a premeditated theory, but rather to establish the timeline and let the records show what actually happened. And that's what we want to know, damn it. And we're going to find out. I absolutely love it. Jay Ann said Warren's nose is really red. Honey, I bet you his whole face is red, okay? I'll bet you that. That's right. GameStop said Nolan's mom not leaving no stone unturned. Exactly. And that's what I'm talking about. Okay. Ooh, honey, that audio, while the maggots were sitting there trying to say, and the lawyer was trying to say, oh, this is AI. Oh, it's been altered. Yeah, we're going to know about all of that. I don't think it was altered at all. I absolutely don't, because let's not forget, Miss Janita Bradley is she was this was her job, her career, right? Wasn't she previously into like forensic audio analysis and something like that? So please, if it was altered, she would have known that. I'm pretty sure. They're about to reconstruct the whole thing. Okay. Mel says Warren is disappearing. The guilt is eating him alive. Yes, it is. Betty Boop said they need timeline forensics, and they're about to get it, beloved. Okay. Mr. Elevation said Ocean Springs, you don't know who you are messing with. Let's go, Mrs. Wells. Okay, exactly. Remember Tracy? Tracy said, yeah, they don't know who they're messing with. Ocean Springs, we're pretty tight knit. Well, let me tell you something, Tracy Shepherd. Okay, your minion. All right, you raccoon. Let me just tell you something. Y'all don't know who you're messing with, Ocean Springs. Y'all must have got us twisted. Because one thing about it, y'all can sit there and think y'all are getting over on black folk all the time or whatever. Y'all taking us up out of here and whatever you want to think. But at the end of the day, when black people finally get tired and rise up and stand up and speak out, now you're going to have a problem. Okay? Because we're demanding justice by any means necessary, and we're not playing games. And that's exactly what Nolan's parents are looking for. That's exactly what Mrs. Christine Wansley wants. She wants justice, and she's not going to stop until she gets it. So that means that somebody's got to pay, or a whole lot of people have got to pay. Either way, somebody's going to pay. Okay? Please pay attention. Please pay attention. I love to hear it. Now, with that all being said, let's talk about the Cajun Navy member who was talking to Rage Baden, tap dancing Tatum, because here's what I think he was trying to do. Now, I'm not sure, because I just have from this little interaction that I happened upon, right before I started this broadcast. And so the Cajun Navy commander exposes what Nolan Wells' mom initially told him. Now, this is an exclusive interview from Rage Batum. But let me tell you something. I believe that Rage Batum, Tap Dancing Tatum, thought he was going to get a whole spiel. Thought that this man was going to come on there and tell him all this shady stuff about, oh, she was trying to make it about race, and oh, she was trying to do this, that, and the third. But funny thing is, that's not what happened. Okay, that's not what happened at all. And let me just tell y'all something. I can see her right now. Check this out. Rage Batum, Tap Dancing Tatum just did a video 52 minutes ago that says Nolan Wells' family, their 800,000 GoFundMe exposed. What do you mean exposed? How the hell is it a secret if they're collecting money? Fool. Okay, why is he sitting up there trying to hate on them, but he ain't said nothing about those frenemies collecting money, right? Under Nolan's name. They should be sued for it. But anyway, let's go to this clip. As a matter of fact, forget the clip. I'm going to go to his entire, well, I think I'm going to show this clip first, but then I'm going to go to his video because there might be a little bit more information on there that we want to actually hear. I think this is only about, yeah, you know what? Forget this clip. I'm going straight to his video. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do because I want to hear this. Want to hear this because Tatum, like I told you, I think that when he sat down with this man, the Cajun Navy commander, that he literally thought this man was going to sit there and tell him some shady stuff about Miss Wansley, honey. But the man told him the opposite. Let's get into it. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Rage, Baden, Tatum, they need to sue you for taking their funds because I know they paid you. I'm pretty sure they paid you. I bet they need to sue you right about now and take your liquor brand off the shelf, honey, because you didn't do them any favors. Ha! I know that was your intentions, but you inadvertently made it a whole lot worse. Now they're all going down, and you're a part of the reason that they are. Hope that makes you proud.
From Miss Christine. Christine called me up. I'm thinking it was 7:30ish, 7:45 that morning.
July the 4th.
It'd be early morning, July 5th. And basically, what she told me is that her son had gone out the day before, that on the 4th, with a bunch of his friends. That's key.
There was an initial request or an offering up of cadaver dogs to search one of the boats. I guess one of them that Nolan may have been on, and that was presented, and it was rejected by Benjamin Crump.
What I told the lead attorney was, I've got the dogs, you get the permission. What she said was, we'll have to really think about it. We didn't understand that if there's no alert, that means nobody.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, got an exclusive interview with an incredible guy. I was able to talk to him a few days ago.
Blue skies.
Let me just say this. I want you all to pay attention to how Tap Dancing Tatum, his first point of contention, the first thing he wanted to bring up was the fact that Ben Crump turned down the cadaver dogs. The first thing, there was an offer for cadaver dogs. That's the first thing that the devil wanted to bring up. Now, the reason I mentioned that is because he's always so busy trying to go after Black folk. He's always so busy trying to debunk or disprove Black folk. Now, even though he doesn't know those young men, he doesn't know their families. I mean, he knows them because he's met them now. But what I'm saying is he doesn't really know them like that. But yet he seems to believe everything that they say. Of course he doesn't. You see, he knows they're lying. He knows they're lying, but he doesn't care because he's so full of bull. Okay, he'll do anything for $1. Okay, but he wanted to bring that up to try to make Ben Crump look bad from the get-go. But you can't make him look bad about that. You sound stupid because that man doesn't own the boats. And like the guy just told him, Ben Crump would have to get permission. And who's going to give him permission? Those people hate Ben Crump. They hate Nolan's mom. They hate his parents and his family. That's why they've been harassing them and doing all this other foolish stuff. They're not going to give Ben Crump permission. Okay, they're not going to help the same person that they have been deeming as a race hustler, or the person that Governor Tate Reeves says he wants to run him out of Mississippi. And he knows that with his stupid self. And doesn't he look like a raccoon for real, for real? I'm not even talking about as a euphemism. I mean, literally. Okay. And doesn't that look just like him? Of course it does. But let's continue.
Stuff. We do food drives. We do toy drive. Last year was close to 600,000 toys we handed out. So we really run the gamut from disasters and blue skies. You know, community involvement's the biggest thing. The easiest way to explain it.
That's awesome. And it's all volunteer work, or how does that work?
All volunteers, man. 100%
Wow.
volunteer.
Wow, that's incredible. And so as it relates to the Nolan Wells case, can you walk me through when you were first notified and what were the first few things that you did as a response?
Sure. So late that night, early Sunday morning, I received a Facebook Messenger call from somebody that had been noticing it on Facebook on what was going on with
Is this
the
July the
messages
4th?
in the post about
July the 4th?
it'd be early morning, July 5th.
Early morning. Okay.
The 5th. So early morning there, and
Tell you all something. Tatum is not a good interviewer. He asks the most dumb, idiotic questions. He asks the obvious, okay? And I hate when people do that during an interview. He's asking the obvious. Oh, so it's all just volunteers? Dumb ass. Everybody knows that the United Cajun Navy consists of volunteers. Fool, you should know that. If you don't, okay, shame on you. But if you do, why are you asking? Okay. And then when the man's telling him when they got the call or whatever, he said, was this July the 4th? No, fool. They were partying on the island July the 4th in the early wee hours of the morning. He is such an idiot. But let's continue.
I started reading into it, right? There were some Facebook posts. Then I got a call. I got a call from Miss Christine. Christine called me up. I'm thinking it was 7:30-ish, 7:45 that morning. And we discussed what was going on. So I asked a lot of questions, physical description, and I asked some hard questions, mental health crisis, any kind of habits, anything like that. And basically what she told me is that her son had gone out the day before that on the 4th with a bunch of his friends. That's key, with a bunch of his friends. And they were partying on Horn Island. I mean, it's a big, and he didn't return home. So what from that phone conversation is I quickly say, hey, let's memorialize everything, right? Ask her to put it all to me in a text message. So from there, we communicated both in phone and on text. But if there was anything important that needed to be relayed, I wanted to make sure that I memorialized it, documented it, and I'd send a text message back. So starting that Sunday morning, the text messaging and communication started. My organization, we have a lot of volunteers in that area, and my vice president was there as well. And we started mobilizing people quickly to go out to Horn Island to start looking. We had some surface vessels, some boats, and drones.
Y'all check this out. If you need custom shirts, hats, or gear, check out Pure Choice Apparel. You can pick your product.
Make it back home.
And the initial search effort, what did that look like? You said you guys had boats, you had people in the air. Was there any people physically on the island? Were there people in the water? Can you explain, what that initial effort was?
Sure. So we had boats that were in the water, and we sent people to Horn Island with a drone as well to start looking at that area. So immediately around Horn Island with surface vessels, what we call boats, as well as boots on the ground to start, the aerial search with drones. Now, I did reach out to the Coast Guard and asked them if they needed any air support as well. And they said that they had rotary wing in the air. I did have some fixed were available. They told me it was Jackson County Sheriff's Office, that it was their area and their jurisdiction. And they said they didn't need any additional aircraft. So we moved forward with the plan that we had with boats and boots on the ground there.
And while you guys were on the ground in the water, did you see anything that was concerning? Did you see anything that was an indication of an altercation or any signs of Nolan or anything in that initial search?
None at all. But what we did.
Now, not for nothing, but I just have to ask, how is this idiot going to ask this man if he saw any signs of an altercation? What in the world? If he saw any signs of an altercation, nobody is there, you imbecile. Do y'all hear this? The altercations were the day before when hundreds of people were there. What is he talking about? If nobody's there, how's he going to see signs of an altercation? What kind of signs would there have been? Robert said, what a stupid question. Exactly. That's because he's stupid, beloved. Abishua said, play an investigator. I have so many questions. Reggie says Tatum wants his biscuits. Honey, I had to give him those biscuits, those hard arse biscuits from Popeyes. Those are the only biscuits I had to give him, okay? Please. And I wouldn't give him any water to wash it down, and hopefully he'd choke. But let's continue. Stupid self.
Did do so. I put out a post, right? So we use social media. It's a huge tool. What we do is I'll make a video and have a missing persons poster, and I put that poster out, and we started to receive some phone calls and some messages. There were some people who said they may have seen him on land. This was later on Sunday, that they may have seen him in some of the surrounding municipalities. So again, not knowing what happened, not having any clue, we sent some people to check out those areas as well. But we continued our vessel search and our search in the water as well as on Horn Island. But moving forward from there is I started a very succinct operational plan to search later on in that next day that Jackson County Sheriff's Office was aware of.
Did you have any communication with Miss Christine after, you guys have done the search? I know you had initial communication when she asked for your help. And did you talk to her or communicate with her during the search or there right after the search?
Absolutely. We communicated all day. And I've got the text messages where we talked via text as well as where we spoke on the phone. So I kept her up to speed on what was going on, and she would feed me a little bit of information throughout the day. And again, it was in text. And as that search started to wind down, we again had another conversation. And I explained to her, hey, here's what's going on. As it starts to get dark and dusk comes in, we demobilize, and then we start planning for that next day.
And did you get any indication that she was concerned about race or it?
Here comes the bullshit, y'all. Here comes the bullshit. He couldn't resist. He couldn't resist. And did you get any indication that, and then he tries to pause because he doesn't want to just come out and say it because he doesn't know how the guy's going to take it. Did you get any indication that she was concerned about race? Shut your dumb ass up. But let's continue.
Being a factor in this or foul play or anything like that, when you first talked to her, because this is fresh, I don't think the media even had an understanding of how she felt being presented to them. You were one of the first people in this intimate time that she was searching for her son, had a chance to communicate with her. At this point in your communication with her, was there any indication that she was concerned about a racial dynamic or any foul play, or was it just a mom looking for, trying to find out what happened to her son?
It was a frantic mother worried about her child. And that's no indications of race, no indications of foul play. She reiterated a couple times, Brandon, that, he went out with his friends. So it really made me to believe that it was a cohesive unit, a group of guys who went out to go party on the 4th of July on Horn Island. But again, no initial accusations of foul play or anything to do with race. No.
I bet his face was cracked. I bet his face was correct. Okay. Did you hear that, Jax? Okay, because Jax was the one that sat up there, and I know he was coached to say it, but he was the one that sat up there and said, oh, she put out that picture with us, and that's what started the whole race thing. No, it did not. Okay, and I want you all to pay attention, because the same piece of ish, and that's what Tatum is, he's the same one who keeps talking about, basically that they made it about race, or we're making it about race, but he's the one that brings up race every damn time he interviews somebody. Didn't he bring it up with the young man when he was interviewing them? Now he's bringing it up with this guy. He's the one who's always making it about race. Okay, does he think we're stupid? Because we know that he is, and that's a fact, not an allegation.
Not at all.
And so you guys concluded your search, I believe, the day that he was discovered. Did you guys discover him? Did law enforcement discover him? And then walk me through what happened next with notifying Miss Christine and the family.
Sure. So the next day is really key. That Monday morning, we were communicating back and forth, and I had a fixed wing that was going up. It's an airplane at about 6:30, 6:35 that morning, and I offered for her to go in the plane. I said, "Look, if you want to go up in the plane, the offer is there. I don't recommend it, but I need to at least express that offer to you and make it there for you. She declined that request. So I'm on my way there to the boat launch where the Tactical Operations Center was at Mars Lake. And she sent me a message that morning and said, you know, where are we going to meet? As soon as we're done with the data dump on the phone, we'll meet up with you. So that made me believe that, hey, they were going to the police department, whatever it was, to do that data dump on the phone. And then we got the call, right? So somewhere, you know, it was after there, I was 15, 20 minutes away from the boat launch. The sheriff's department called me, and then Christine called me right after that. They had obviously first notified Christine. But when she called me, I told her, hey, I'm 15 minutes out. Meet me at that boat launch. And we did. She met me there. When she pulled up, she came running to me, and it was one of those moments that you'll never forget. You know, this was a grieving mother who knew in her heart that that was her son that had been found. Gave me a big hug, man, a big bear hug. Mr. Elmo was there. And we sat in the parking lot. We sat on the ground in that parking lot for 15, 20 minutes. And we were exchanging tears, if I could put it that way. You know, it was a super emotional time. And I knew that that was probably the beginning of the hardest days of her life, right there sitting in that parking lot.
Wow. When you talked about the phone, did she indicate to you at any point that there was anything suspicious in the phone, or she just in, you know, kind of a passing conversation that she mentioned she was going to send the phone to be downloaded? So did she mention anything other than the phone being downloaded to you about the cell phone, or whether or not it was, she believed it was a crime committed in it?
Now, I want you all to pay attention to how this man just sat there and talked about a very pivotal moment, a very, heartfelt and emotional moment, when the mother is finding out and realizing that her son is probably dead. The body that they found is probably him. And she gives this man a hug and they exchange tears. That is a very heartfelt moment. And anyone with an ounce of dignity, sense, or empathy would have shown some sort of compassion, would have said something that showed that they had empathy. But all rage bait him tap dancing raccoon Tatum did with his stupid self. When I tell you, I literally hate this man, and I don't hate many people, but I sure as hell hate him. But let me just say, rather than showing an ounce of empathy or sympathy, he goes straight for the kill, comes back with, oh, so yeah, about the phone. Did she say anything about suspecting that? Just trying to gather dirt on her. He can't even pretend to have empathy. That's how much he does not have it for people who look like him. Okay, that's very important to note. That is very, very important to note. This man cannot even feign empathy. He just goes right to his next point, as though that man didn't even just sit there and say something that would make the average person with empathy and sympathy feel a little sad, feel emotional, or at least, show some semblance of a heart. You understand what I'm saying? Now, Revision says the CTO call is the key evidence why you think the FBI stepped in to allegedly help. But we see who received the help. Please pay attention to your voice. Okay, on Damn It Bart for entertainment purposes. Damn it, Bart, for entertainment purposes. Okay, thank you, beloved, for your insight into the topic. I appreciate you, and thank you for your contribution to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings. Yes, that CTO call is very important, beloved. It absolutely is. Okay, the FBI only stepped in to help the other side. They darn sure didn't step in to help Nolan Wells, okay, or his family. Not in my opinion, they sure didn't, because all they've been doing, Angie said he's worse than Django. Okay, you're absolutely right. Nubia Ross said, yes, unnecessary digging. Yes. Okay, that's all he's doing. Jay Ann said Tatum only cries for white men. You got that right, because darn sure cried for Charlie Kirk and said he wouldn't even cry for his own son. What a weirdo. Anyway, but let's continue, because I am so here for it, honey. This man just cracked his whole face. Let's see if he can squeeze anything out of this turnip, because that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to squeeze out some dirt on Mrs. Christine Wansley, but it doesn't look like it's working. Okay, this man is answering these questions with a very professional stance and being very stellar, in my opinion. Queen C. Precious says, headed to work, listen to you fry his arse. Great day, chat. Thank you, beloved. You have a good day at work, beloved. And thank you for your insight to the topic, your kind words, and your contribution. Peace, love, and blessings. Honey, Tatum is a fool.
Or not?
So didn't say anything about a crime, but we did discuss the phone that Sunday. So the day before he was found, she called me up and we had a discussion about the phone. She said, hey, Josh, they want the phone. And she said she wasn't too comfortable with sending it to him or giving it or turning over the phone. And here's what I told her. I said, look, that phone was your son's phone, and you've got every right to turn it in and to video everything that they're doing with the phone. Be there for it. If you don't trust the process or some concerns, get your phone and video what they're doing. You know, if you're concerned about losing data, there it is.
Honey, I bet you Tatum, did that hit you where it hurt, beloved? No, he is not liking the way this man is answering these damn questions, honey. Okay, he keeps on trying to dig for dirt, but all this man is dropping his gems. The man's the one. I love it, because see, we never knew this. This is the one who told her that if you don't trust them, you'll be right there. You know, you record what they're doing. You watch them like a hawk, okay? You see what they're doing so they can't do anything shady. All right, he's the one that put the idea in her head. There it is right there. Tatum, how you like those apples, honey? Sit down somewhere, you clown. Okay, please pay attention, honey. Look at his face. I know he is so mad. He's probably like, God dang it, I thought I was going to find some dirt. But you didn't find any, did you, fool? I love it. Let's keep listening, because this man is dropping bars.
She seemed to be comfortable with that when I told her that. Look, I'm not law enforcement whatsoever. But I know that she's going through a hard time, and I just wanted to let her know that every part of the step with anything that she has for her to document if she's afraid of losing some of the data or the integrity of that data.
Right. So in the early stages of the phone, she did express without any coercion whatsoever that you know of that she believed that there may have been reason for her to turn that phone over.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then Nolan was recovered. You met with her. You guys exchanged tears and you know, I guess sadness for Nolan, who was from all accounts an incredible young man. And then what happened next? Did you guys ever go to actually identify the body?
An incredible young man whom he said was going to have Coca-Cola in his system. Y'all remember that, right? Now he wants to sit here and act like, oh, he was an incredible young man. Yeah, but that's not what you were saying at first, devil. And then I forgot whose comment it was. Somebody just said, when I said I hate Tatum, somebody said he hates himself. And then somebody said something about his epigenetics. Y'all are going in on this man better than I ever could, honey, but let me continue.
Or, you know, what happened after that?
So this is a key part, right? So she asked me to be a part when they go to the coroner's office. So they didn't bring his body to that location. They brought his body to a secondary location, as the hospital, the coroner's office. And she asked me to be a part of it. Of course, yes, ma'am, anything I can do to help you. So we got in a convoy and we went that way. We went to the coroner's office, sat down at the table. It was myself, the family, Miss Christine, Mr. Elmore, the coroner. I was right by her. Coroner comes in, and of course it's difficult. It's a difficult conversation for anybody to have. I'm sure you're familiar with them. The coroner said, you know, he believes that it's Nolan. 99.9% sure, whatever the stat was, you know, but he still wanted to get a swab or get some DNA so they could double check. Said, you know, according to the appearance in the photographs he's seen, it appeared to be Nolan. But he also said something very key, that there was no initial appearance of foul play. So to me, immediately what I thought was, no blunt force trauma, nothing visible right there, right? And obviously there needed to be a further investigation, but the coroner did say that. The questions were asked, you know, just some, hey, can we see him? Blah.
Hold on. I'm so glad he brought that up, because let me tell you all something. The coroner, Brian Lind, I meant to tell you all about him yesterday. I got receipts on him, okay? He's nefarious, okay? He's been talking real greasy about Black folks, stuff that he's posted on his social media, okay? He's a maggot, okay? Please pay attention. I don't think we need to believe anything that he says ever, all right? Please pay attention. At the end of the day, he's somebody who doesn't like or care for people who look like me, and that's apparent and obvious from his social media posts. And like I said, I meant to show you all yesterday, but y'all know I be having so many receipts, I forget.
Blah, 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 these things. But also the question I asked was, hey, Mr. Coroner, can you please explain the process of how it's going to move forward? It's just one of those things that the family needs to understand. And what he did was explain how they're going to move Nolan to the crime lab so they could fulfill all the autopsies and everything that way. I was not a part of identification of the body. We immediately left. So if at some point that evening later on, we went to their house after the coroner's office, if they went back to identify, I don't know. I wasn't, but the immediate meeting with the coroner's office, there was no identification by myself or the family that I was aware of.
And based on, at this point, from all of your engagement with the family and also with elements of law enforcement, did you have any concerns of impropriety, meaning that you felt as if law enforcement wasn't or would not handle the case appropriately in the involvement that you had?
So from the level of engagement that I saw, let's base it on initial level of engagement. They had a lot of people that were involved with the search, and then immediately after as well. I mean, I was communicating with the sheriff's department closely thereafter. I did not observe or have a feeling of any lack of engagement or anything like that. You know, I think they were engaged. And then as the case moved on, I believe their level of engagement was appropriate because they knew this case is under a microscope. You know, everybody's out there watching. It's international news.
And I want to just ask you a personal opinion about this, because one of the elements that we've been trying to get out to the world is because this has turned into a racial dynamic. And just on your experience, I don't know how long have you been living in this area, or, you know, living in Mississippi around this Ocean Springs?
So I live in Louisiana, about an hour and 20 from Ocean Springs. All my life, 30 plus years. Getting old.
And you got a big old gray beard.
Right.
being in that area your whole life, or majority of your life, like, do you notice any real racial tension? And I say real, I'm saying just from you, in your opinion, is there a element of racial tension in either the Louisiana area or near Horn Island and the Ocean Springs area that you have personally experienced?
So there's this perceived element of racial tension in the South, right? Let's call it the South as a whole. I personally have not had any or observed any gross racial tensions whatsoever prior to this. I think that this case has exacerbated some, and there's been some outside influences that have exacerbated some racial tensions for whatever reason it is. We live in the South. Yes, there's a history and there's a past, and I understand that. But move forward with the way we're living, right? It's 2026. It's a difficult time, and it's a difficult time in the South. It's a difficult time nationwide, right? But let me say this. Let me put this out there real quick, is that I 110% support Miss Christine and what she's doing. She's a grieving mother, and I've said this from day one. There's no rule book. There's no playbook on how she should act or what she should do. Find the truth and trying to find answers. There's a lot of outside influence that's pushing her in whichever way it is or however it is. But again, I support her. She's got to find the truth so she can start that grieving and healing process. There's some disgusting things that are out there, and we just need to be able to differentiate from that, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that point, because that's been a huge concern of mine, of trying to figure out what's stimulating this. When I spoke to some of the young men that were being accused of killing Nolan, they were saying that that initially it didn't appear that there were issues between Miss Christine, the boys looking for Nolan, and then all of a sudden it seems to be an issue of race and accusations, and it's almost like the community beginning to break down, because it appears that even you, being a volunteer for the Cajun Navy, being able to, and being white, being able to go with Elmore and Miss Christine, and you guys shared the same sentiment of looking out for what happened to Nolan, and then it seemed like it turned. And
First of all, what this devil is sitting here trying to do is conflate the issues. The bottom line is this. Yes, there is racial tensions in the United States, mainly in Mississippi. Absolutely there is. But here's the thing. That does not mean that every white person down there in Mississippi is racist. That does not mean that every white person in the United States is racist. That's not what that means. So for him to sit there and try to talk about that and then try to justify it by saying, well, you and her shared this moment, whatever, as if he's trying to say that proves there's no racial tensions. That's not what that proves. There are racist people in this world, period. And there always will be. That does not mean that everyone of the said race where the racist people come from are the same way. So he needs to sit down somewhere. I am so sick of him. Now, I'm getting y'all some more receipts. Hold on.
From my observation, it seems like when the attorney Benjamin Crump and others got involved, it seemed to turn more in a activist political direction than just the generic direction of, hey, a community coming together to find Nolan. Now, that is my opinion. Now, you had a closer experience in this because you were in communication with Miss Christine and all of the above. What is your take on how this has played out since the very first time you got involved?
I don't necessarily disagree with your opinion. Okay. I've seen the communications with Christine and her family dwindle down after the hiring or onboarding of Mr. Crump. Now, again, I want to make sure that everybody understands I'm going to give the family the respective space that they need. And I will send them motivational messages. Just today, I sent one. Hey, Miss Christine, I know today's a tough day. It's your son's birthday. Just know that I'm here for you 110%. If you need a shoulder to cry on, somebody to call, whatever it is, I'm here. Got to thank you, which is all I expected. But what I did was watch lengthy communications turn into emojis or the little heart and then thank yous. And it's fine. It's the natural progression of the way the relationship was. But I do feel that outside influence had something to do with it, without a doubt. And that's my opinion, right? So it's unfortunate. A young man lost his life.
And there's this issue with the cadaver dog. I don't know the full details of this, but I'm under the assumption, I hope you can clarify this for me, is that there was an initial request or an offering up of cadaver dogs to search one of the boats, I guess one of them that Nolan may have been on, and that was presented and it was rejected by Benjamin Crump. Are you associated with that, or can you explain that? Do you have more information than I do about this?
Sure. So I was the one who offered the cadaver dogs.
Oh, okay.
I had a conversation with the lead attorney. I had a with the lead attorney, Liza Park. I'd been trying to reach him for a couple of days, and I left message, couldn't do it. I asked Christine, give me a phone number. I need to talk to somebody. So I sent a text message on, I believe it was the 13th, got a read, no response. And I called that next day on the 14th, had about a 24 minute conversation, but I offered up the services of the cadaver dogs, right? So these are human remain detection dogs. And I told him, I said, hey, look, I've offered them to the sheriff's department, but I'm offering the service to you as well. And here's how it plays out. Those dogs can go to the boat. They can do a search on that boat. And if they alert on that vessel, and they alert as they're working to smell for a cadaver, there's more than likely a pretty big chance that there was a body on that boat. But if those don't alert, it's just the inverse. There may not, and it's a pretty good chance that there wasn't one on there. She explained the concern about them cleaning the vessel. I can pretty much guarantee they didn't clean the vessel with the necessary chemicals or the process that needs to be cleaned. And then that was reconfirmed when I went and spoke to the young men as well, because they told me how they cleaned the boat. And they said, man, Josh, all we did was spray it down with fresh water, because that's a common practice whenever you remove a vessel from salt water. Just spray it down, get the salt of it, and go there. But what I told the lead attorney was, if you would like these services, we'll provide the resource, we'll provide the dogs. You're going to have to get the permission. If it's a warrant, if it's you just asking for permission to look at that vessel, that's on you, not on us. I've got the dogs, you get the permission. What she said was, we'll have to really think about it. We didn't understand that if there's no alert, that means nobody. So
that's pretty. I mean, what do you think about that? Was that, when she said that, was that suspicious to you, or was it just maybe somebody that don't understand how this process works, or, how did you feel about that? And it's just an opinion or a hunch of how you felt. Because when you said it just now to me, it's kind of weird that you know, you're looking for Nolan. If I was Nolan's friend, I mean, I don't even know Nolan. Knowing what I know about Nolan right now, there is no stone that would be left unturned for me. And so with the cadaver dog potential, you know, how did you interpret that?
So I interpreted as there were concerns that the dog wouldn't alert. That was my interpretation. No alert, no body, right? So of concern because they were looking to try and find the last location of Nolan. Yeah, it was a red flag. But here's what else I said. When I gave her a little piece of advice, me not being an attorney, but just a common sense kind of guy, I said, why don't you ask the family, you know, because I can't give you permission to search your boat. Why don't you ask the people who own the boat, say, hey, we want to run a cadaver dog on it. If they say, sure, no problem, that'll tell you something. But if they say no, right? So we never were returned. I never personally got an email or a call back. Hey, let's use those dogs. They could have went out somewhere else and used some other dogs. The conversation was that. But I will say this. 2 weeks later, the sheriff, Jackson County Sheriff's Office, did ask me to bring some cadaver dogs for another case that's in Ocean Springs. So they're fully aware of our capabilities and they utilize us with those resources. So there's the.
Now I want you all to pay attention because he said 2 weeks later, the sheriff asked him to bring cadaver dogs for another case. Listen, here's the thing. Let me just say these two things. Now, he says that the communications really slowed down and it went from full-on lengthy conversations to just emojis. Well, in my opinion, that was probably because they already found Nolan dead. Of course, she's going to be having serious communications in the beginning because she's looking for her son. Once his body was found and he's dead, there's no need to keep carrying on lengthy conversations with him at this point. That's just my opinion. Also, I mean, just think about all the other things that she's had going on. And then Ben Crump's been taking her and her husband to different, states or whatever, doing different things, meeting these people and that person or whatever, holding press conferences and all these things. So, I mean, to me, that's just common sense. That just makes sense to me. But also, as far as her saying that she didn't understand that if the dogs didn't react, that meant there was no body there. Well, that's not a red flag to me. To me, that sounds like someone who doesn't know and understand how cadaver dogs work. Okay, at the end of the day. But also, he likely didn't get a return call or email because, quite frankly, she was not going to ask those people if she could get on their boat and have those dogs search it. I know she was going to do that because at the end of the day, those people were not going to let her. Now, even if they didn't do anything to Nolan, they still weren't going to let her because they're pissed off and they don't like her and they're mad that all this trouble is now surrounding them and all these accusations and everything else is going on with this case. So, yeah, they absolutely wouldn't have allowed that. And how you know they wouldn't have allowed it is because for the fact that when they claimed the police went to search Jerry Ackerson's boat, they asked his permission. They didn't even take a warrant. And then it's interesting that he says 2 weeks later that the sheriff called them and asked for their cadaver dogs, but not for the Nolan Wells case, not to go search any of those boats that were out there on Horn Island that day. That's what the sheriff didn't do. So to me, that's the red flag. Not the fact that the mother and Ben Crump didn't ask for the dogs. Because again, they would have to get permission, and those people were definitely not going to give it to him, in my opinion. But the sheriff, he easily could have gotten warrants and everything that he wanted, but he didn't do that. So if the sheriff and law enforcement themselves, the FBI is down there actively investigating the threats and all that crap, if none of those people asked them to bring the dogs for this situation, but had the nerve to ask to bring for another one, that tells you everything you need to know right there. As far as I'm concerned, now mind you, that's just my opinion. Okay, that's just my opinion. But now let's go. I think I found the information on Brian Lynn's that I was going to show you all. Lights up everyone, and that's the coroner. Okay, that's the coroner. Hold on. Let me see here. Okay, yeah. Let me just pull this video up real quick. Lights up everyone, please. Don't forget to like and share. Okay, I'm working hard to bring you all the receipts. Pay attention.
Okay, so this is Bruce Lynn Jr., the current.
I'm sorry, Bruce Lynn. I think I called him Brian Lynn. Also, Eric Jordan, thank you so much, beloved, for your super sticker donation. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Now listen to this.
Jackson County coroner who has the autopsy results from Nolan Wells' first autopsy. he ran for this position, right? Homie is a retired police officer, you guys. He is retired from the Pensacola Police Department that is investigating this case. This is how he posts on his social media. This is how he posts about Black people. I actually am so gagged that his social...
This is the corner, y'all.
This is how he posts on his social media.
You don't have to believe President's speech. That's your choice, not broadcasting. It takes that choice away. That's what the community do. He's a MAGA. He's a MAGA hat, the coroner.
This is how he posts about Black people.
This is how he posts about Black people, the coroner. Conservative commentator breaks down a how are you?
Okay. So I would say that it's safe to assume that he doesn't like Black folk. Okay, please pay attention. And then you saw he put on there, looks like he took the 100,000 from Judge Ashley Cole. I wonder if she really did try to bribe someone. I don't think she did, though. Like I said, I couldn't verify anything with that article. It just looks suspicious to me. Now, with that all being said, likes up, everyone, please like and share. But let's talk about Sarah Fields for a second, the little low down, dirty conservative chick. Maggot. Let's get into it. Here's what she has to say. She's trying to go in on this lady, but after I show you all this, I'm going to go to what the lady has to say about Nolan's case, the lady that does the channeling. She's supposedly a voodoo priestess, okay? Sarah Fields says, demonically possessed woman has been using witchcraft as her weapon and as her excuse for targeting Warren Hudson and accusing him of murdering Nolan Wells. Well, Tammy, I have a message for you from the boy's attorney. He told me you cannot channel anyone's spirit. In fact, he says that he's been casting protection spells since this entire thing started. Guess your connection isn't as strong as you thought. And then Tammy responded saying, they are scared now. Yeah, they're scared. Pay attention.
Now let me show y'all something about how they're getting really, really scared. Because this is why they disconnected us from our cultural and our spiritual powers by telling us we had to believe in a mere straight hair, blue eye, dead white man, that we could not connect to anything in the spiritual realm. This would be having people to believe they don't have a connection to the spiritual realm. They are only a physical avatar. Now, this is the lawyer, Pulitzer, who I think she called them or went to speak to somebody with this investigation and tried to tell them what she was channeling in the spiritual realm. Now, of course, the European does not want to hear anything about that because European need to scientifically prove it. You see, which shows they are not grounded. But let me show you how they know she got powers. They know she is channeling. They know she is connected to the spiritual realm. They know there's nothing they can do about it because they can't touch it. You see, they can't see it. So what do they do when they can't touch it and they can't see it? They try to ridicule it and shun it, you see, and shame you for it and make you feel some type of way about it. Demonically possessed woman. Now, how can a person be demonically possessed? You see what I'm saying? How could you say she demonically possessed? How can you prove she demonically possessed? You get me? Because demonically means there's something that has taken over you. So how is that possible if it's not a spiritual thing? Because a physical person can't take over you unless they use force. Has been using witchcraft as her weapon. Now, how do they know witchcraft is a weapon? You see, they tell on themselves without telling on themselves. Only hit dog holler. So how do you use witchcraft? Do they know how to use witchcraft to say she using witchcraft and that witchcraft could be used as a weapon? How would they know it could be used as a weapon or not, and her excuse for targeting Warren Hudson and accusing him of taking Nolan Wells out. You see? Well, Tammy, I have a message for you from the boy's attorney, Pulitzer. He told me you cannot channel anyone's spirit. In fact, he says he's been casting protection spells since this entire thing started. So how is it he can cast a protection spell, but turn around and tell Tammy she demonically possessed?
Thank you.
And that she using witchcraft as a
And that she's using witchcraft as a weapon. I want you all to pay attention, because what they do is take our spiritual practices and use them against us, but then try to demonize them when it comes to us using our own spiritual practices that our ancestors used. I want you all to pay attention, because that's what this is all about. So it's okay for him to cast protection spells, right? But Tammy can't be channeling? Yeah, make that make sense. Let's continue.
weapon. So why is what she doing a weapon, but what they're doing is protection? Guess your connection isn't as strong as you thought. This is what he's trying to say. Well, again, it's called a spiritual war. And then somebody say they are scared because they can't see what she see. They don't have.
Let me tell you another reason they're scared, because not only can they not see what she sees, okay, they cannot defeat us in a spiritual battle. They just cannot do it. Okay, the maggots cannot do it, and they know it. They cannot defeat us in spiritual warfare, and that's what they know, because we are God's people, and they know that. Okay, so this is why they try to vilify and demonize spiritual practices and say these things are demonic and all of that. What they're doing is demonic. Okay, what they're doing is demonic, because what they do comes from Satan. All right, when they have these satanic rituals, when they have these satanic groups, when they have the members of the Triple K sitting up here doing these rituals, what do you think that's all about? Those things are paying homage to Satan, to Baphomet, to Baal. Okay, that's all demonic. Okay, please pay attention, honey. The game is rigged, okay, in their favor, according to them.
Have the power to do that. The only thing they have to do, have the power to do, is be possessed by something dark and get the power from that. Because if you work in the other side of dark, it's the light. You see? So this is a spiritual war of the dark and the light. So you don't protect people with dark gifts. You protect people with light. But you can empower people with dark gifts, or you can use your gifts in a dark way, but it's all spiritual. You see? All of it is spiritual, demonically or divinely. It's spiritual. So again, it seems these entities will fight to the death. You got to ask yourself, how did we get here with an accidental drowning of no foul play? Everybody don't call Ben Crump when the child died. Ben Crump has been doing this for some time, and he specialized in this, and he see the patterns of the system. And everybody don't get the Black Caucus involved. Everybody don't get to call Donald Trump defamation lawyer, not to mention they don't have the money to pay a lawyer that Donald Trump had for defamation. You see, that's why they had to raise money, because this is all about a money grab. And to keep everybody confused, you see, everybody don't get to giving up $50,000 and $100,000 and saying, I'm going to pay for the second independent examiner like Nick Kaepernick did. Why is everybody so involved in this situation? So many people speaking about this situation, because the consciousness is rising.
Yep.
Because the energy is shifting. And these demonic forces trying to project this onto Tammy, you see, that she demonic. So in order to see demonic, you have to be demonic, because we are mirrors to each other. Okay. If you don't know nothing but demonic, then how can you see demonic? You see what I'm saying? But how is it okay for you to protect them, but she can't go into the spiritual realm and channel information. That's a thing. That's a real spiritual thing. But they got everybody worshiping white Jesus. We can worship white dead Jesus, but Tammy can't go into the spiritual realm and channel what happened with the situation. You can't fight that in court. All she can do is say what she saw. You can't put somebody in jail for saying what they saw spiritually, what they heard spiritually, what they felt spiritually. You can't arrest somebody for that because we are infinite spiritual beings. So this is all mind games. This is.
And another thing they can't do is they can't sue her for defamation, for things that she saw in visions or things that occurred during channeling. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention.
All gaslighting. This is all deflecting. And it's really saddening. But people better learn about the spiritual world. You see, the spiritual magic. If you're operating in the dark or the light. She just wants the truth. So how do we find the truth? Because you got to get the truth with the physical aspect, and you have to get with the spiritual aspect so that they can be what? In harmony and in balance. So you need both of them. But the European don't use the spiritual world. They use the demonic forces that's already in the spiritual world. They're not looking for the light, which is the truth, to set souls free. They're looking to harvest soul energy. You see? Silence soul energy. Suppress soul energy. Put fear in soul energy. And it's not working anymore. This fear energy is not working on the masses, on the collective anymore, because you cannot build a kingdom on deception. Eventually it will fall because it's built on sinking sand. It's not going to stand. No matter which way the wind blows, we didn't do anything. The kingdom would not stand because it goes against the universe. And we just helping the universe put things in alignment, in harmony, in balance. There'll never be a perfect one. You see, there'll never be a total dark one because people have come from that dark world and came to the light. And people have been in that light and went to the dark world. We must keep the balance. So this is perplexing that Pulitzer is going after a spiritualist, threatening somebody who can channel spirits. Is crazy. It's wild. It's diabolical. How desperate they are to keep their narratives and their propaganda, their illusions and delusions going, but it's not going to work. Did you try it with the Carmela and Metcalf situation? It didn't work. And then they come back and they try it again. It's not working. It's getting harder and harder for these entities to trick the conscious mind and to trick the connection to source. People are trusting their inner knowing, their higher selves, what their soul is saying to them. They're seeing the patterns that continue to repeat itself in this realm. This is something to think about right here. You going after somebody, you can't put her in jail because she says that, because she's channeling. You can't put nobody in jail. That means you're saying there is no spiritual world if you can say she is going to jail, or you can threaten her because she's channeling from the spiritual realm. You trying to say there is no spiritual world. And we know that's not possible. We know that's lies. That's not facts. Let it sizzle, y'all.
Honey, they are running scared. Okay, they're running scared. Now, let me go to the lady that she's talking about, this voodoo priestess. Okay. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Now, hold on. Let me read this comment. Demorpin says, yeah, because on the 4th of July, that's when Saturn is in line with the sun and earth. And in their ritual practice, Saturn is the dark father. That's Saturn for them. And they take that energy and use it. Yes, they do. Okay, yes, they do. That's where they got the Lord of the Rings. Okay, because the rings of Saturn, okay, they worship Saturn. That is their God. And this is why they say that Jesus was born on December the 25th. That's the day they worship their God. Okay, at the end of the day, Jesus was not born on December 25th, was born during the spring solstice. Now, Justine, thank you so much, beloved, for your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay. So Sarah Fields, she needs to sit down somewhere because if you ask me, she's a whole demon. And I don't mean possessed. I just mean she's a literal demon, okay, in the flesh. With that all being said, now let's continue because this here is the voodoo priestess that Sarah was talking about, saying she's demonically possessed.
Hey, my beautiful people. So there's been something that's been real heavy on me since I seen Warren Hudson's interview with Brandon Tatum. So my first channeling with Nolan, he showed me a lot of stuff. And if you don't understand about channeling, a lot of things are symbolic when you look at it. But since listening to Warren Hudson's interview and hearing what he said, I really feel with a heavy heart that I got to do one more channeling. So let me tell you something that I did not say in my channeling with Nolan because I did think it was symbolism. Now, I told y'all that Nolan was killed in a house, but when I saw Nolan, when I channeled him, he was in this one particular room. I can't remember if I told y'all about the room, but this is when I saw all the energy around him. Remember when I told y'all that I took it off? Well, it was in that room. But before I did that, when I do my channeling, I see it through the eyes of the person, whether they're living or dead. So as I'm looking through Nolan in this room, I kept hearing Nolan say, "Stay here with me, do not leave me." Like he was really fearful. And he was saying it to a girl. She was in the doorway. So what brought me back to this part is because Warren said that he went over his girlfriend's house and he confirmed me seeing the fireworks that I told y'all about. So if he confirmed the fireworks, them being at the event that I told y'all about, and he mentioned that he went over his girlfriend's house, and I remember Nolan asking a girl, "Don't leave him here." I got to find out who this girl is, and I got to channel her. And it's kind of strange too that I don't know about y'all, but that was my first time hearing about Warren and a girlfriend. Everybody been talking about Katie. So with Nolan like being afraid and telling the girl that I saw, "Don't leave me here, don't leave me here," I think that lines up with him trying to find a way to get away when he realized something wasn't right. And he was trying to get this girl to help him. So I need y'all to help me. I need to know who this girl is. I can do the channeling without knowing her name. But if I have a visual and if I have her name, my energy can go so much harder on her. I don't have to go through nobody else. I want to go straight to her and get her and straight see what she has to show me. So I need y'all to help me with this.
Okay, she also said something about a person by the name of Dylan. I think she's the one that said something about a person named Dylan. Anyway, listen. She said one thing that she said was kind of scary to me. I saw one of her channeling sessions where she was talking about, or her channeling videos, when she was talking about Nolan was in this room and this entity like held him by his arm because they were trying to take his soul, which they weren't able to do. But she said this creepy looking thing, it was like a skeleton looking, black looking arm or whatever that reached out and grabbed him. Honey, it was just all scary. Now she does that channeling stuff or whatever. I've never done that. Not the way she does it, at least. Now I have seen and known things from other people or whatever, but it was just something that just came to me. You know, like remote viewing when I can actually see what other people are doing and things like that. Let me just give you an example. So I have this friend. If you all remember, do you all remember my friend who used to sponsor my channel? She's a nurse and she was selling the scrubs. Put a 1 in the chat if you all remember that. That was a couple of years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Put a one in the chat if you all remember that. When I had the sponsor for the channel that was selling the scrubs. Now, that's a friend of mine who's a nurse practitioner. Okay, so I had told her one time, I mean, I didn't actually know that I was remote viewing. I didn't know what I was doing. I just thought it was real weird because I've always been prophetic and had these dreams that come true and just had premonitions and things ever since I was a child. But there was one particular time about maybe, I want to say probably about 10 years ago. Okay, so I had called her and I told her that I had this dream. I thought it was a dream. I told her I had this dream that she was sitting in her living room with some lady that was older than her, that had on glasses, had curly hair, and was light skinned. And the lady's name was either Frey or Freud. And I told her they're sitting there on the couch, and then her husband comes home from work and he's outside. Like I literally am watching them like I'm looking at them on a screen. This is what it seems like. It seemed as though I was watching everything play out like it was a movie. I knew I was there, but it's like I didn't see myself. I just saw everything that they were doing. And it's like I was peeping through a window watching their lives. And this is crazy. But anyway, so I told her I saw her husband pull up outside. Okay, and he gets out of his car. He's got his hands on his hip and he's very upset. He walks over and there's 2 cars in the driveway. One of them is a new car that she bought, and he was very upset about it. And he comes in the house, and the other woman leaves as soon as he comes in because she can tell that he's upset clearly. So they get into an argument. He's all up in her face or whatever, and he's upset about that car out there in the yard. Okay, so I'm not going to get into the rest of it because that's her personal business. I don't want to go too far. But so I called her and told her this, right? And she says, when did you have this dream? And I said, I had it last night. And she said, girl, that happened last night. So now I'm thinking, because at first I'm thinking this is something that has not happened yet, and it's something that's possibly going to happen. Right? I'm thinking it's a prophetic dream because I can tell my dreams when they're prophetic, they're very real, they're very lucid. And I remember them as soon as I wake up as if it's a movie that played out in my head. So I'm thinking it's something that's going to happen in the future. She tells me that's what happened last night. So now I'm thinking, how in the hell did I dream something that happened last night? And then when she told me about the time that it happened, that was about the time that I went to sleep. So I was dreaming this in real time is what I'm thinking. And I'm like, how's that possible? And what does that even mean? So it was, and then here's the thing. She told me that he was upset because she bought that car for her 17-year-old son because he felt like the car was too expensive for someone in high school. And that was the issue. But also, she said that the woman in there with her name is absolutely Freud. Now, you all know that's not a common name. I've literally never heard that name before, Frey or Freud, but I knew that the person's name was one of the two. And she said the person's name was Freud. So here's the thing. I didn't realize I was remote viewing, and I had been doing this all my life. I literally always thought I was having dreams, lucid dreams. And so how I found out that it was remote viewing is I was talking to a friend of mine, Derek Muhammad. You all should remember him. I've had him on the show before. He's a movie producer, and he's good friends and business partners with Karen White, the singer. Okay, so anyway, I was talking to him about this at some point, and he said, Queen, you were remote viewing. And I'm like, wait, what? And I was like, oh my God, that is what I was doing. I did not even realize it. And then I started thinking about all the times that I have done this, seen things. I mean, there was another time when I called a friend of mine and said, girl, I had a dream about you and your husband. Y'all were in the house and the police were outside knocking on the door, and y'all had the TV turned off and the lights off, acting like nobody was home because they had a warrant for your husband. This was like so many years ago. And she told me that literally happened. Okay, that literally happened. So it was just all crazy. But I found out that that was remote viewing too, and I always just thought it was a dream. So what I said all that to say that the spiritual realm is real. Spiritual gifts are real, and as we have entered the age of Aquarius and people's consciousness are rising. Okay, specifically people drenched heavily in melanin. Our consciousness is rising. Okay, we're coming into a Christ consciousness. Some of us now. If you're not That's because you're vibrating or operating on a low vibrational frequency. And if you want to be able to access and use your spiritual gifts and fine tune them and make them more beneficial to you and more prominent in your life and stronger, it's just like going to the gym and working out, lifting weights. You break down the muscles and then they repair and get bigger and stronger. That's the same thing that happens with spiritual gifts. Okay. Ankh Feminine Energy says astral projection is what it's called. Well, here's the thing. It is absolutely astral projection, but according to the CIA and research, astral projection, beloved, and remote viewing are exactly the same thing. They are the same thing because here's why. When you're remote viewing, your spirit has left your body. It has left and removed itself from your physical body. And there's documented cases of this, which I've studied years ago. But and so crazy that I didn't even realize that I was doing it, even though I studied this stuff. But in a remote viewing, the spirit has left the body. And see, here's the thing. I thought I was dreaming, but I wasn't dreaming. I was actually right there. I was actually right there in my spiritual form, not physically, but I was spiritually right there. I saw and heard everything because I was there. I was like a fly on the wall. It's like the invisible man. They can't see me, but I can see everything and hear everything they have going on. Now, to me, that's kind of a gift and a curse because I felt like I was invading their privacy. Because how am I all up in y'all's house, hearing y'all's argument, knowing that what y'all got going on and all of that? You know what I'm saying? And I was thinking, well, darn, does the queen have a nosy spirit? Because why is my spirit all up in their business? But I don't know why, but that's what happened. And there's even a documented case, and let me just tell y'all this, and then I'm going to be out of here, but there's even a documented case of a woman in England. She was looking for a house, her and her husband, and one day she woke up and told her husband she wanted to go looking for houses and that she had, kept dreaming about this beautiful house with French doors and this fancy pool and all this stuff and everything. And so they go out looking for houses and they ride past this house and she tells him, stop right here. I've seen that house in my dreams. For the past few nights, I've been dreaming about that house. And he tells her, listen, I'm not going in there. There's no reason for us to even go. That house is too expensive because it was like a mansion. And she said, he's telling her, we cannot afford that house, so don't even waste your time. She's like, no, I've dreamt about this house 5 nights in a row. Let's go in here. So they go into the house. The real estate agent is there, okay? And they look around the house and everything, and she tells the real estate agent, or she tells her husband, let's make a bid on the house. And he's telling her, you're wasting our time. We don't have the money for this. The real estate agent says to them that you may be able to, place a bid because the owner is just trying to get rid of it. Because to be honest with you, she thinks it's haunted. So the lady says, I don't care what she thinks, if it's haunted or not. I want this house. So they give an offer. They put a bid on the house. The real estate agent calls the owner and the owner says she'll take it. The owner shows up about 10 minutes later, walks in the house, and the owner literally drops her purse. She looks at the lady and the husband and says to them, oh my God, you're the ghost that's been haunting my house. Now, mind you, here's what actually happened. The lady is thinking for the past 5 nights that she's dreaming about this house, but she wasn't. She was remote viewing, astral projecting. Her spirit was going to this house. And probably because in her subconscious mind, she knew that they're looking for another house. And so maybe that's why. I don't know. I never can understand exactly why your spirit goes to wherever it goes and does whatever it does. But nonetheless, the lady who owned the house had seen her spirit, had seen her astral projecting and thought she was a ghost. And that's why she wanted to save the house. So that's a documented story. You can look that up. But it is very interesting. And it's so amazing that we have these gifts, and so sad at the same time that many people are not tapped into these things, don't even realize that they have these powers, that they can use these things. And you absolutely can. And it is amazing once you learn that. If you all know the rapper, Johnny Badass, I love him. He was talking about this one time. Do you know he says that he can actually do it at will? Like he can just make himself astral project. And he was talking about how the CIA has used people who have these powerful gifts to try to get them to spy on the enemies of the United States. So they know about these gifts and powers. They know about the spiritual world, okay? And most of the people that they get to do these things, I'm pretty sure they look like me. Okay, so please pay attention. Now, I'm not saying other people don't have these gifts, but I'm just saying that we have these gifts, okay? And they are absolutely amazing. And you need to try to tap into these things if you have not. Don't let anybody tell you, oh, don't study astrology. Oh, that's demonic. Oh, you shouldn't be, studying numerology. All of that stuff's in the Bible. Numerology's in the Bible. Okay, zodiac, astrology's in the Bible. The 3 wise men followed the North Star to Jesus. That's all astrology. What are they doing following a star? The stars guided them. Okay, even the ancient Egyptians, i.e. the ancient Cometians, they were into numerology and astrology. These are powerful tools and weapons. And everybody that follows my spiritual channel, you all know this. And I know y'all keep asking me when I'm going back on there. And I keep saying, oh, we're going to go this week. And I never do because I'm just so tied up and busy. But we have got to get back on that channel. And so anyway, with that all being said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast because I will be back later. Okay. Oh, hold on. Before I run out of here, hold on. I got a couple of more videos to show you all real quick about the Nolan Wells case. Okay. Because now they're saying that Stacey Turner, the medical examiner, people are calling for her to be taken out of her position. They want her out of there. So let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance.
What's up, family? Well, what do we have here? A petition to revoke Stacey Turner's medical license. I ain't got no problem with that. But some of y'all do, so let's talk about it. Yeah, fam, let's talk about it. So far, the petition that's asking for 50,000 signatures has 45,362 verified signatures. Now, here's the issue. To the governor of Mississippi, the Mississippi State Board of Medical Licensure, the Mississippi Department of Public Safety, the Mississippi Attorney General, the United States Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, and all agencies charged with protecting the integrity of Mississippi's criminal justice system. We, the undersigned citizens, families, advocates, and supporters of equal justice under the law, respectfully but unequivocally call for an independent investigation into the professional conduct, forensic determinations, and death investigations overseen by Mississippi Chief Medical Examiner, Dr. Stacey Turner. The Office of the State Medical Examiner occupies one of the most consequential positions within Mississippi's justice system. Medical examiners are entrusted with determining the cause and manner of death through objective scientific analysis. Their conclusions influence criminal investigations, judicial proceedings, insurance determinations, and most importantly, whether grieving families ever receive justice. That public trust is compromised whenever credible questions arise regarding the accuracy, consistency, or impartiality of death investigations. Over the past several years, multiple deaths involving African American individuals have generated substantial public concern. Families, independent forensic experts, civil rights advocates, and members of the public have questioned whether these investigations were conducted with the rigor, transparency, and impartiality required by accepted forensic standards. Among those cases are Trey Reed, a 21-year-old Delta State University student found hanging from a tree in September 2025. Although his death was officially ruled a suicide, his family has publicly challenged that determination and commissioned an independent forensic review. Their pursuit of additional examination reflects a profound lack of confidence in the state's investigation. Damian Cameron, following his death after an encounter with Rankin County Sheriff deputies, Dr. Turner's office classified the manner of death as undetermined. Independent forensic pathologists later concluded that the evidence supported a homicide determination, raising significant questions about the original findings and whether critical evidence was appropriately. What's up, family? Well. What?
It looks to me like they're all going down sooner or later because at the end of the day, honey, you can only hide the truth for so long. The truth finally will eventually always come out. And when it does, it comes out loud.
Attention to the Nolan Wells case, you will see that the media coverage is already starting to die down. His birthday was this week, and as I thought about his birthday, my worst fear really is that all the people that were involved in his disappearance, in his demise, will just go on to have normal lives. That these men will go on to be doctors and lawyers and senators, maybe even a president one day. And then one day they'll just wake up 50, 60 years later on their deathbed and decide that they want to tell the truth. Or his girlfriend might wake up 50, 60, 70 years later when she's in her 80s and 90s on her deathbed and decide that she wants to come forth and tell the full story about what happened to Nolan Wells. And by then, it'll be too late. It'll be too late. His parents would have already had to live that long without him. Most people would already not even know what the case was about at that point. Tell the truth now when it matters. If you were there and you saw something and you are scared and you don't want to be involved, send it to me. I'll make sure that it gets to the right people. I'll verify it. If you've been paying attention to the Nolan Wells case, you will see that the media coverage is already starting.
I'm going to have to disagree with her. I don't think the media coverage is dying down. Now, it could be, but at the end of the day, there's still so many people online still talking about it, okay? There's so many people in line still talking about it, and gathering information. And now it's when it's about to get really good. Now this is when it's about to get really good because things are starting to turn in the favor of the family. Okay. And like I told you all, with this CETO subpoena, this is all very pivotal and this is very imperative because it's all pertinent information because this is going to lock down the timeline and it's going to bring about independent witnesses. And many of the questions that we have will be answered specifically for Nolan's mom. Okay. They're going to get some of these answers that they seek. And it's all to Janetta Brantley, in my opinion, putting out that enhanced audio. Okay, as well as people like me who have been reporting on this and putting the emphasis on what actually happened on that boat, the GPS data, the questions surrounding why they canceled the tow and all of those things. So collectively, for all the people who've been working on this case, shout out to you. You should pat yourselves on the back because when I tell you that almost everybody that's been reporting on this has been doing a good and thorough job. Okay. With that all being said, I'm going to conclude the broadcast. I want to thank you all for tuning in once again. Please like and share. Okay, subscribe to the channel. Now, later on, I'm going to be coming back. Me and the lounge are going to be doing something about Carmelo Anthony because the lounge is actually down there in Frisco. Okay, at the trial, at the court. And so we're going to be talking about what actually went on. And I heard it was juicy, honey. And I saw that Nika Knight posted a video down there. It looked like the Black Panther Party was behind her because I know those devils are down there so mad and butthurt because they already know what's coming. Yeah, they know what's coming next and they don't want it to come and they can't stand it. And this is exactly why Greg Metcalf or Jeff Metcalf sat up there and had his head in his hands yesterday because all of that stuff they said about his nefarious sons, it was all true and all documented. You can run, but you can't hide. And the truth is coming out slowly but surely. With that all being said, Percy said also Rupert. Absolutely, beloved. Absolutely. Now, with that all being said, listen, you all enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. Keep your notifications on because, like I said, we will be back. I want to tell you all thanks for tuning in. Okay, thanks for your Cash App donations, for the super chats and all of that, for liking the videos and everything. And with that all being said, I love you all to life. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Okay? And Mr. Elevation says, have a great day, Queen. Thank you for all that you do and keep up the good work. Well, thank you, beloved. You have a good day as well. And thank you for your kind words and your contribution. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. I'll see you all later on today. And until then, beloveds, peace.
Oh yeah, I'm on your ass. I just got to know. What up with that audio? Well, we not gonna stop. No, no, we won't go. I'm hugging your parents in spirit. Yeah. We on this case and we demand answers. Oh, they expose. The real queen of receipts, dropping. Oh, and we got your back. Somebody gon' talk. Hell yeah, the ancestors walking. I'm so serious. Queen on the case. Oh, they asking full-blown panic now. They trying to shut us down, close our mouth. But I just won't. Damn that Nolan. Well, we not gon' stop. No, no, we won't go. I'm hugging your parents in spirit, yeah. Nolan, we on this case and we demand answers. Oh, they expose. What happened to you? We tied. You don't get the all my kids ain't cover it up. I said, show yourself, yeah. Steady talking about they was his friends. I said, show up and talk if that's the case. Hold on, Nolan, it's coming to the light. Yeah, the queen on the case. Hold on, Nolan, we won't give up. Rest in his peace. We all love you. No. Nolan. Well, we not gon' stop. No, we won't go. I'm hugging your parents in spirit. Nolan, we on this case. Oh, they expose the real queen of receipts, dropping. We got your back. Somebody gon' talk. Hell yeah, ancestors walking. Rest in his peace.